This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Welcome to Behind the Scenes, for your half-assed entertainment news with no bullshit, with our hosts, Summer Helene and Bear Fiorda, only on Talk 4 Media.
G'day guys, welcome to Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, Summer Helene, and we're on with my co-host, I'd say the baddest bear in the cage, but you're not fighting this weekend.
No, I'm not fighting this weekend. It got canceled, actually, so I'm kind of disappointed in that. But hey, I'm here, and I got a nice big bruise on my lip.
You're not fighting, you still got punched in the face?
No, I got healed in the lip. Get it? Because normally you get healed, like, recovery, but no, someone kicked me in the face.
Your job sucks so much.
I'm okay with it. Makes me happy. Good de-stressor, if you will. Don't do that. Don't make the face.
Somebody punching me in the face was not less stress. That would be more.
It wasn't a punch, though.
Somebody
it was the back of their foot.
Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody kicking me in the face. No!
Yeah, it's a big de-stressor. If they hit you hard enough, you don't have any stress for a couple seconds or longer.
Worst
Also, I'm
job
sick.
Ever.
How unfortunate.
That was my fault. I'm not naming names, but somebody
Someone
gave him
not
the
naming
flu.
names. Mm-hmm. That's okay. You know what?
We were exposed to COVID, so I go in for a COVID test, and I had strep.
And then she gave me whatever that is.
He started it.
I did. You blame me for you getting sick.
You have had ringworm, impetigo, head lice. Like, you wrestle around with half-naked men. You come back with shit all the time.
Listen.
I'd like to remind everyone, every time we use bad language, we give money to the Boys and Girls Club of America, the Humane Society of America, and free MMA. We swear because we care.
Fuck yeah, we do.
Anywho, so there's a bunch going on in Hollywood. Chris Evans just got married, and women are losing their collective fucking minds.
Chris Evans.
I know. I'm so happy for him. Women are losing their collective minds.
I don't get why. You have to understand that, yes, you may have lost your chance, but what chance did you have?
Well, no, the big thing they're doing now is everyone's freaking out because they're like, Henry Cavill will be next.
Henry Cavill, isn't he?
I don't know.
Is he not taken already?
He's in a relationship, but he's not married. So now they're worried that like Henry Cavill is going to get married. I'm like, he's dating the chick from like My Super Sweet 16 or whatever.
Henry Cavill's dating the girl from
like My Super Sweet 16.
That's not a pregnant one, right? Or like a marriage one?
No,
What's that one?
That's Spoiled Children.
Spoiled Children.
Yeah.
Man, he picked them. Good job, Henry Cavill.
But everyone's like, oh my God, he's gonna, he's next. I'm like, well, if you like them, wouldn't you want them to like get married and have kids and, be happy?
No, you like them because you think you can fuck them at some point.
Okay, I have had my fair share of actors, models, sports people. Why bother? Like, I'm going to tell you something.
That's a good point. They're just people. They sleep in the bed just as good as you do.
Yep. And even when they have a big fan base, let's say on social media, they still punch you in the face when they sleep.
That's called sleep fighting. It's not my fault. That's not where I thought you were taking that, by the way. I thought you were going to agree with me, and then I can be like, yeah, 45 seconds.
Oh, really? Only 45 seconds?
Hey, listen, how long do you want?
Something I learned from a girl I know named Alexis that is my executive assistant and a dominatrix in her off time. I'm just putting that out there, but it's a secret. Don't tell anyone.
You guys can also secretly hit her up too.
Yeah, she's always looking. Mostly for like a Hemsworth, but whatever. One thing I learned from her
like
is
the short one, or
no. She likes the Liam one.
Okay.
Liam
Hemsworth, isn't he? No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of someone else entirely. Yeah. I thought he was gay.
No. You're thinking of
the one you
Luke Evans.
Luke Evans.
I want Luke Evans. I do not believe in gay conversion therapy, but for him, that is a risk I am willing to take.
Yeah, Luke Evans and Liam Hemsworth together have like just the best love child.
I could get in on that.
No, you can't. Anyways.
Anyway. So essentially, where were we? Oh, Alexis. She said the better looking a guy is, the worse he's going to be in bed because the less effort he thinks he needs to put in.
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
That's why I'm terrible.
Really? You're terrible? Since when?
No, but it's a quality concept to believe in. If you got someone who's basically handed wherever they want or always giving compliments on how awesome they were in bed, and just because they're pretty, they're not going to fix themselves. Why bother?
It's
or
true.
No one says anything and they think they did awesome.
I know it could be worse. It could be that, you know, you're told you give the worst oral sex that somebody's ever had. I mean, it's offensive.
Just start telling pretty people that they suck in bed. This is how we start the revolution.
Is that why you told me I was?
No, that's not why I told you that.
I think he was going for a correction.
Yeah, it's okay. I didn't hit the mark on that one, I think.
It's awesome. All I'm saying, and if it helps, you're prettier than me. That means you should be worse at it.
I'm handsome, thank you.
Okay, well, back to Henry Cavill.
I'm too much of a man.
What is it? Back to Henry Cavill
and
Chris Evans being bad in bed.
I'm an alpha male.
Sure you are. No, Sigma. That's the new thing.
Right. Sigma
and
male.
any man that says he's an alpha male or a Sigma male, I'm just like, oh. Just tell me you have a small penis.
Just less of a male.
Just tell me you have a small penis.
It's like guys with truck nuts.
What is a truck nuts?
You know what truck nuts are? A little two balls inside of a sack people tie on the end of their truck near the tires and the axle. Hangs like it dangles. Truck nuts. That's a thing. I don't know if it's a thing anywhere else except in the United States, but certainly a thing here.
Cool. My brother texted me to come open the gate. I just got the text. He left before the show.
Yeah.
I have a broken arm. Can somebody open the gate?
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I didn't get the message.
You know what would have fixed that?
Having my phone on.
If he had truck nuts.
My brother is not the man to get truck nuts.
No, absolutely not.
He's also not the man to have a truck.
Well, I'm going to drive us back to the Hollywood topic because we have some new development. I don't know, is it really considered a new development if we already kind of got the sentencing on that Masterson case?
Oh, What's-a-face is divorcing him now to try and like save their assets.
Right. They have that. I will discuss it later in the show. I don't know if it's true for everyone, but they have that division of assets kind of detail before they even get married.
They're going to get the shit sued. So basically, she's going to sue the shit out of him.
Right.
She's going to take all the assets. He's not going to contest it. And then the women that he, you know, raped will get nothing.
Yeah, of course they will, because that's how it works. This is the system we work with. But more on that in a second, because now we're going to bring on our very special guest, Chris Shelton. You guys remember from our previous show, we're going to discuss more about this case, but also perhaps
I'd like to make a public apology for not asking the questions you guys wrote in on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and my phone. Last time he was on, please don't send me hate messages. I just got caught up talking. It is totally Bear's fault.
Well, now we have the chance. Welcome to the show, sir.
I wrote down some of the questions from last time. We'll get hate.
Hi. Thanks for having me back. You guys are hilarious.
You're our like lead. I don't know what is that lead inspector. You're our head consultant on everything going on right now in the Hollywood world because of this whole situation. You've got the best insight to what's going on there.
I know Hollywood's cold, and you know, rapey, and that just seems to go along really well with the whole Scientology thing for some reason.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is true. And covering up those rapes and that kind of thing, it's awful. That's what cults, unfortunately, are all about.
I'm like trying to move my hair. I've got such bloody long hair. I sat on it earlier. It's going.
At least it's not in your tea.
That's what I was moving it for. I just put it in my tea.
Oh, okay.
Let's pretend that didn't happen.
No hair tea.
So I guess it's really interesting to see that she's going to be divorcing Danny Masterson now versus previous.
She's saving money.
Well, that's the case. That's what I wanted to bring up. It's purely because not to say that does she believe? Do you think she believes what he's doing? Like she's behind his actions. She believes he's innocent, or that she acknowledges he's guilty.
She knows.
No, I don't think she thinks he's guilty. I think she was. Oh no, I think she believes. I mean, I could be wrong, but I believe that she is 100% standing behind him as far as, you know, father of the child and all that. Right. But and then it was all a put up, and that the women lied through their teeth, and they're about to lie again for the civil case, which is coming up. And Scientologists, unfortunately, I can speak from personal experience, live in a very different world than the rest of us, and convince themselves of really crazy things.
It reminds me a lot of like an echo chamber. You're constantly surrounded by the people who all share the same ideas, say the same things, and so you eventually just kind of fall into the same belief system as them, regardless whether it's true or not.
You just compared Scientologists to incels.
Incels, QAnon, the flat. Are you a flat earther, sir?
No, I definitely am not.
He has more than a fourth grade education.
Throw them in the mix. Flat Earth too.
Yes.
Right.
All right.
No, you're nailing it. That's how it works. You're right.
Yeah, and it just baffles me that I understand that anyone can get caught up in it. I do, but that you think there has to be something already kind of not people who are born into it, people who just kind of fall into it on their own accords. There has to be something they're already off, something they're already missing.
They want to feel special. They want to feel they know something that no one else does. It's like the moon landing thing. I got into a fight with this person on Reddit because that is what any logical person does because I'm a moron.
Yes.
And I pointed out, I know, I got into a fight on Reddit and I pointed out that the first people to get the signal from the moon was Australia and Russia. And we're not going to lie for America. Australia's not going to be like, yeah, America landed there. Good job, mate. Like,
yeah, you were paid off.
Yeah, we were paid off. No, we're not going to lie. We're going to try and do it ourselves. And Russia sure as shit wanted their cosmonauts there first. So they're not going to lie for America. But everyone's like, but the moon landing was faked. I'm like, I can't do this today. Anyway, but yeah. So tip to everyone out there, don't get into fights on Reddit. It simply makes you dumber.
And the moon landing was fake.
Yeah, it was created by Stanley Kubrick.
I love when people turn around and they're like, it was laser lights. I'm like, do you know how many laser lights you'd have needed in 1960? It would have been cheaper to put someone on the moon.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, the whole thing is. I've dealt with all of the above.
Really?
1 year the International Flat Earth Conference was right here in Denver, and I went to it.
Oh wow! Why would you do that to yourself?
Why? Yeah,
because this is what I study, and I wanted to have firsthand. Like I could actually go and talk with them and find out. Right. And it
people
was
study Ebola; they don't catch it.
Yeah, no, I didn't catch it, but it was absolutely fascinating learning why they will tend to believe the flat Earth thing, and there's lots of reasons, but it's the whole echo chamber thing you mentioned earlier. It's all about staying in that world so they don't have to hear that that they're crazy or that they're stupid or ignorant or whatever. They just talk to each other and keep each other going.
I always think people just want to feel special. Like, I know something you don't.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That's part of it.
And I think it's like mommy and daddy didn't love you enough. Your boyfriend didn't think you were cute. So now, like, you think you're superior because you discovered something. I expect my government to be better at conspiracy theories. Like, if there is a conspiracy theory, you better be so damn good I don't figure it out.
No,
that's right.
I don't disagree with you. With these people, and this is obviously outrageous, but what people need in this circumstance, they just need a personal bully. Like, they need to hire some 5th grade kid to follow these people around. And every time, like, the Earth's flat, and like, no, you fucking dummy. Now give me your lunch money.
I don't think that's how that works. I think that might be the opposite.
No, that's how we solve this problem.
I think that's why people hire Chris.
Hire Chris. My bad.
Or we can hire Chris. I think he's better than a personal bully.
I'm gonna patent that idea.
Might possibly
might be better.
So how do you get someone away from that?
Well, here's the funny thing in terms of flat Earth is most of it's religious. Most people don't realize that. Most of it is based in religion. About 95% of them believe the Earth is flat because they think that's what the Bible tells them, and all of this other conspiracy nonsense on top of it.
Does the Bible actually
no, it doesn't. No, it
flat?
does not.
No. Okay.
I went to Catholic school. The Bible does not say flat.
Okay.
It also doesn't say 6,000 years.
It does not. Nope, it does not say that. It's true. And yet, there's at the conference there was a poster-sized thing of 90 quotes from the Bible that prove flat Earth. So you can interpret that book lots of different ways. And,
it says you can beat your wife and sell your daughter into slavery. That it does say.
Nah, that means something else.
That's pretty clear in there, actually. Yeah.
It gives you the steps on how to.
Yep.
But we don't want to pay attention to that part of the Bible.
That's it. And don't mix your fabrics or eat shellfish.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Rules to live by.
Exactly.
Now, I wonder, especially in Scientology, do conspiracies tend to overlap? Like, so you have Scientologists but they also believe in these other, they do all these wacky concepts. What are some other ones that they kind of
I'd like to encourage, if any Scientologists hear this, tell the Church of Scientology to sue me. I'm happy with that. This is entirely my fault. Okay,
Well,
now go.
yeah, no, absolutely. There are full-blown world international 12 men rule the world kind of conspiracy theories right out of L. Ron Hubbard's mouth. So,
well, good then.
Yeah, so I used to be, as a Scientologist many years ago, deep into the Alex Jones level, David Icke, if you heard of him, like lizard people rule the world and drink the blood of children and all this. That was a little too far, but the world being controlled by bankers and financiers and psychiatry and all of that, that's all Scientology conspiracy theory too.
It's also, believe it or not, part of what's used as kind of a back-end anti-Semitic viewpoint. They use it with the bank. So. Yeah, very anti-Semitic.
That's actually not a point I'm not aware of.
They talk about, so the Rothschilds are usually the ones they use.
Okay.
That's right.
And so it's very, it's built in anti-Semitism more than anything else. It's really, really dark.
Why do you think it's built in I shouldn't say why do you think, but why does it appear to be built in anti-Semitism?
Well, Jews have been global scapegoats for ever. I mean, don't get me wrong.
All it comes down to?
It's Muslims are getting it now, but like historically, it was the Jews.
Okay,
now,
that's right.
Yeah,
and they have been the scapegoat of history, and you can go back millennia on that one. It's a long, bad story.
Damn, it's really disappointing to hear that it's still a consistent thing. Maybe that's kind of my age showing here, I guess. But that was a concept I wasn't aware.
That's your
it's kind of disappointing.
I'm sorry.
That's true. I did grow up in the United States. They kind of tend to gloss over all that. Like, the Jews have been the scapegoat for millennia. Yes, there was the Holocaust. Now we're into the modern age. You know, they just kind of gloss over a lot of all these atrocities. Really,
you guys gloss over even your own history. You guys gloss over like what you did to the Indians. That, by the way, inspired the final solution. Like, it's amazing. America was the inspiration for Adolf Humperdinck. Remember, we're on YouTube, so I have to be careful. Like, and then the Mormons believe that the Native Americans were actually cursed by God. That's why their skin was red.
Man, that's
right. And that's why black people were black. It's Mark of Cain.
Exactly.
Up until 1979, the Mormon Church official dogma was Mark of Cain.
Yep.
I've never heard of the Mark of Cain, but now I know a little bit more about it.
So the Jews got it, blacks get it. It's pretty much anyone but like the Anglos.
Actually, now that this brings up an interesting question, is Scientology also kind of based in that same level of like racism or anti-Semitism? Do they have their own like scapegoats?
No, not racially. Because Scientology tends to, it's kind of complicated, but basically no, they don't get into that kind of thing. Hubbard was a casual racist, if you will. In other words, he was racist. He had very strong opinions about blacks in South Africa, for example. And
cool.
Did not have
during apartheid.
Yeah,
awesome.
During apartheid years, Hubbard was in South Africa trying to make a go of Scientology down there. And he had things to say. He actually tried to rewrite the entire constitution of Rhodesia, Zimbabwe. No.
Hold on, we're down a rabbit hole now that I don't want to get out of.
No. We're down. Yeah, I'm in.
Why did he try and start there? And actually, here's my first question: what made here more successful than over there?
Mass communication facility, and Hubbard's backstory as a writer and his reputation in America was better than it was in other parts of the world where it didn't quite take as easily. And Hubbard had a uniquely American point of view about things and communicated from that perspective. So,
did he just come across like a bit of a loon over there? So he had to relocate?
He did in Australia.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Not to mention that certain governments were a lot less tolerant of his brand of nonsense than the United States government. You can get away with a lot more here because of our rights, and they're good rights to have, don't get me wrong, but people can abuse them so much more easily here.
Yeah, I will agree. That's pretty reasonable.
Starting the Sea Org so you can be on a ship with multiple little children.
Well, being allowed to fly certain flags however you want, wherever you want, without fear of any kind of repercussion.
Freedom of religion specifically gives you a wide latitude with the government. And they've gotten away with some pretty gross human rights violations because of that.
Now, they're constantly going after Leah Remini. At some point, like, why are they still bothering? Because the more they do it, the more publicly she talks about it. Because bless her, that woman is not putting up with shit. Like, I have respect for her. She is not screwing around. They sneeze, she says it. Like,
Absolutely.
they're like, court injunction, cease and desist. She's like, fuck you guys. This is what they just did. I like her.
She's great. She's exposing it like crazy. And that's it. And that's Scientology's Achilles heel. That's their weak spot. That's the way you get them, is expose them, because Hubbard created all the rules for Scientology before the internet was around. And he liked to claim that he had memories of past lives and civilizations that were very much more advanced than this, but somehow he never predicted the internet. And so Scientology doesn't know how to deal with that level of public exposure and the ease with which it can be done now. When Hubbard was around, it was bully tactics. It was you find the person who's attacking and you make their life a living hell until they stop. And that's basically what Scientology tries to do. But now you can expose that with a phone, right? Oh, go ahead, please continue attacking me. And I'm going to post it on the internet, and everybody's going to see what you're doing. And all of their bully tactics rely on all of that kind of being kept secret. And so now it's all tables turned on them, and they don't have any other way of dealing with critics. They can't turn the other cheek. They can't ignore them, because everything Hubbard wrote telling them what to do demands that they ruin these people.
Right.
So they can't leave them alone.
But it wouldn't be hard to ruin them. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, a bunch of people in Hollywood or in Scientology, they got to have at least one me. Like, they got to have one spin doctor in the whole place. So why hasn't the spin doc like turned around and been like, hey, dipshits, this isn't going to work. What you have to do is, kind of lean into the skid here.
Well, I think because that contradicts the doctrine, wouldn't it?
That's exactly right. You got it. The doctrine, what Hubbard wrote, is senior to what any working professional in PR or entertainment or news has to say. In the 1990s, the Church of Scientology actually went and hired major PR firms to get advice and direction on what to do to improve their image after this, horrible Time magazine article and a bunch of other exposure had been done on them. And the PR firms said standard PR reputation management stuff: apologize, pull back, don't lean into the attacks, maybe recognize you did something wrong. They weren't going to have any of that. Not any of it. Miscavige's like, these people don't know what they're talking about. And he fired all, right? They have no idea what they're talking about. And so that's why, because they actually think, despite the fact that it's not working, David Miscavige, the leader of the church right now, thinks what they're doing is exactly what they're supposed to be doing and is the only thing to do.
Is he insulated from knowing the consequences? I mean, at his level, are people insulating him from knowing how fucking stupid his decisions are?
To a degree, yes. He's surrounded by yes people. So yes. Is he so stupid he can't see it? Probably not. But
he's not going on the internet.
No, he's probably not, actually, but he does get a lot of reports and stuff from people. And if he wants to, of course, he can see everything that's out there. He's just so wrapped up in his own delusional worldview and sociopathy that I don't think he really cares. Now,
here's something that I always think about when it comes to cult leaders, with the exception of those who are like kind of drink the Kool-Aid type things where it's all gonna be a mass suicide, or like Waco where he dragged them all out to the middle of the desert. When you are such a public image, but there's a ton of money flowing in, isn't there a certain level of, okay, I kind of know this is BS because I have to do nonsensical things to keep people coming in here to keep giving me money? So do you think he's even at least a little bit aware that some of this stuff isn't true and he just keeps promoting it otherwise?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, because his primary thing is his primary function in Scientology, David Miscavige, is keeping the money coming in. And there's a group of people who are high-level Scientologists who get on board, who fully believe in it, and they happen to be very, very rich. And if he can keep those people happy, everything else can, screw it. Who cares? These guys keep the money coming in, and we keep some semblance of looking like we're trying to bring new people in. It doesn't look like they really care about that anymore, but that's as long as he keeps those whales happy. That's what they're called, the Scientology whales. And as long as he keeps them happy, all is good.
Is there a reason why they're called whales?
I kind of want to go check out Scientology now. I'm really curious. I want to go. I kind of want to go in and check it out. I'm curious.
Please do. You'll see how crazy it really is up front, up close and personal. I tell people, if you want to go check it out, go do so. But recognize what you're going into, and also never, ever, ever give them your address, because they'll never lose it. They will keep you. They will keep following you. They will get your updated addresses. They have skip tracing services. They never, ever let you go once they get your data, and you'll never get off their mailing list.
No shit. Okay.
Kind of cool.
So never. All right. So
I kind of want to get on the mailing list.
Like
mail shit to me each week. We can just show what Scientology sent this week.
It is.
If you want that.
Yeah, it's entertaining stuff. By the way, a whale is a Las Vegas term. It's a rich cat. It's a fat cat. It's a person who's coming in with a lot of money, and
got it.
And they give them trophies and awards and all these silly things to just keep giving in the money. And there are Scientology whales who have given $50 million, $100 million to the church. So we're talking big money.
Well, I mean, yeah, Priscilla Presley was involved until they fucked with the daughter. Leah Remini, you have Tom Cruise.
I just wonder how
John
you
Travolta.
convince somebody to give that. Even if I was that dedicated to something and had the money, I have to recognize that that's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, but you're more greedy than you are wanting to get into heaven because you don't believe in it.
It's not the point. Like
you'd have to believe in heaven and be willing to buy your way in. People did that through history. They did it with the Catholic Church. Like, buy your way into heaven. Pay for this. You can get to heaven.
I'm just thinking, if you made enough money.
Yeah, but you're an atheist that likes money.
$50 million. You have to recognize that you wouldn't have gotten that much money if this is something you did regularly.
Okay, but hear me out.
Okay.
You give all of your money to your nonprofit because that's what you believe in.
Right.
You have busted your butt, taken money, gotten into the ring, and gotten the shit kicked out of you and kicked the shit out of other people to make money for your nonprofit because that's what you believe in.
Well, I guess my version of 50
they
million
believe
would
in
be
that.
Like probably tens if not hundreds of thousands at this point.
That's
I probably have given that.
And you've given that to your nonprofit.
Okay.
Like you may not have 50 million to give, but if you did, you would to your kid's nonprofit. So
well, that's very fair. Okay.
It's what they believe in.
I see the error of my ways.
So why do you think people are so desperate for religion these days?
Oh, gosh.
Than they used to be.
Oh, yeah. With all the stress and trauma that people are experiencing at work, at home, COVID, the after effects of all of that, that was worldwide. I mean, that was like a world war we all just went through. And the stress levels are higher than I've seen in most of my life, especially with rising costs and lowered wages and all of that. People freak out, and they're not necessarily unjustified in doing that. They're having a hard time. And when they do, they will turn to something to try to relieve that stress, relieve that tension, get some answers to why are things this way? Why am I not in control of my life? Oh, here's a group of people who absolutely promise that I can be in control of my life again. And they sound good and they look good and they look happy. Maybe they know what they're talking about. And that can all by itself invite people in. And
that's how the LDS church gets, the LDS church gets
security.
People. That's
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go sideways here because this is something I was thinking about before the show. Clearly, Masterson assaulted these women. It's been proven. It's done. We don't hear a lot about the flip of that, meaning high-ranking. Are there any, for example, high-ranking women in Scientology who also prey on young men or who are also, I guess, predators in this regard?
There certainly could be. If so, they have been successfully covered up.
Okay.
Because the only instances I've ever experienced or seen when I was in and since I've left have been male abusers, which is not to say it's impossible or it can't be that there are female abusers. Kirstie Alley was hell on wheels, but I don't think she ever sexually assaulted anybody that I'm aware of. So
she just physically assaulted, verbally abused, and was a dick.
Exactly.
I guess my thought process is: do they put women on this? Are they considered equal? Are they consider lesser? Are they consider higher in this church?
Oh, for the most part, within the church structure, women are in charge.
Okay.
David Miscavige is the guy in charge, but under him are mostly women executives running the framework, the sort of structure of the church itself. Yeah.
God damn. I was not ready for that answer, actually. Okay.
So unlike most churches, it doesn't lean into sexism or patriarchy.
It doesn't. It actually doesn't.
So you can see why it would appeal to women.
It's not that it doesn't exist, of course, right? You'll find instances of it. You'll find bad actors. But dogmatically speaking, Scientology pays very little attention to your gender, unless you're transgender or on the LGBTQ spectrum. Then they're going to be all about your sex life.
And is that because it's still religious based, or is that just personal preference? Okay.
Yeah, it's Hubbard's spoken morality. He didn't live this way, but he demanded others be very conservative sexually. It was very Leave It to Beaver kind of 1950s kind of attitude about sex.
So he got to have sex with little boys, but everyone else couldn't.
Is that the case? Like,
you can Google it.
Yeah, that's a debatable point on that one as to whether he actually was a pedophile, but he was a serial philanderer. He was a bigamist. He was a number of things that were truly awful. But I don't know about child sexual.
I was just more referring to just fucking anything. And then of course other people couldn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Hubbard was a dog. And, through most of his life, and he cheated on all of his wives. He abused all of his wives physically. And he was a horrible family man. He was a horrible father. So, that's kind of bad enough.
That's what happens at the top of every cult. Usually you find a guy that's like, I get to fuck everyone.
Yeah.
So it comes down to, I will take the burden of sex away from you, my brother.
Yeah. Yeah, they were very stringent on men are men, women are women, and the roles are different. And that's the attitude and the culture and everything that comes out of. And culture and society changed. Scientology didn't. And so it's stuck in this picture of, like I said, kind of the 1950s, really.
Leave it to Beaver.
Exactly. Yeah. And I guess I can kind of see where people, you said it briefly, people would want to go there. It's not so much racist. It's really not sexist. Like it seems kind of open, at least just if you only read those 2 points right there.
Just give them your money and control of your life. Nothing wrong with that.
I love that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, here's this maybe not silly example, but an example is the Church of Scientology is partnered with the Nation of Islam. I don't know if you knew that or not. They're very close. And the Nation of Islam is what you could consider an extremist religious group that caters only to the Black community. And they made those connections back in the 2000s. And so, they're not racist, but look at who they're connected with. I mean, it's a very bizarre brotherhood. It's a strange connection.
I wonder how that tie came about. Was there something to benefit from making the connection with the I'm sorry, based on the name you just gave us? Money. Okay, so it's just money.
Yeah, it's money. It's money. Louis Farrakhan apparently liked Dianetics.
Okay.
And had a Dianetic session. And what he told his people is Dianetics is the way to go. He didn't sell them on Scientology. He sold them on Dianetics.
And what is the difference?
The only difference is in name. Dianetics pretends to be a science of mental health, and Scientology is a religion or a religious philosophy. And so this is the science, this is the religion. It's the same stuff, but they divide it up this way. And so one is more acceptable than the other.
So he built the science to back the religion, or the religion to back the science?
It went science first and then religion.
Could you maybe explain a little bit to us in the audience what Dianetics are, maybe a couple of key concepts to it?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Dianetics is the quote unquote science of the mind that explains why you have all the stress and trauma of your life, because you have accumulated this trauma through incidents you've experienced of pain and unconsciousness. Those are very important. as long as, and all of those incidents are stored in a part of your mind called the reactive mind. And that is not a thinking mind. It's kind of a subconscious mind, and it feeds you this trauma subconsciously. And this is why you act bizarre or say stupid things or do stupid things, is because this reactive mind is literally controlling you during those moments. And what they promise is they have a method to erase the reactive mind, get rid of all that trauma. You won't have it anymore. It won't be bothering you or affecting you anymore. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But unfortunately, what they do, and it's a little too complicated to get into today, but I've shown how actually what they're doing is re-traumatizing you and making the trauma worse psychologically. But
can you give us the shortened version? That's really interesting.
Well, yeah, what they do in the Dianetics therapy is again, therapy, air quotes here, right? Because it's really not. But they put you in a position where they force you to recall and relive your traumatic episode. So if you were in combat, you're back on the battlefield, walking through the incident in the here and now, over and over and over again, reigniting the trauma, right? Sort of re-exciting the trauma responses that are going on. And you can end up having some pretty weird dissociative episodes as a result of this, because the trauma is being brought back very forcefully. And what we found in psychology through studies is that kind of treatment or therapy only works in a very small number of cases.
So it's like a regression therapy gone wrong.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. In fact, it's actually hypnotism, because they induce the trance state, and then they throw you into the trauma and regression, and then they tell you, it's all erased, it's all gone now, look at you, aren't you this wonderful person now? And all you've really done is blow it all up and make it worse, and then you have to deny that and suppress it because supposedly it's all gone, and this couldn't be, these weird headaches you're still having, or these weird feelings, or the PTSD flashbacks. Well, that can't be because I erased it all, and so then you have to suppress it and live in full denial, and that doesn't help your trauma at all.
And your only lifeline then becomes this religion, because you need it to keep these flashbacks. Oh, that's so clever.
That is,
an MLM needs to put that together. Sorry.
Wow. Yeah, it's devious. Yeah, it's devious, is what it is. It's really quite
horrible. How has the psychiatric or the medical community not latched onto this and tried to go after Scientology for doing that? That's horrific.
All the way back to 1950, when Hubbard was first putting this stuff out, they were publishing articles in magazines and weeklies and newspapers trying to tell people, stay away from this stuff. It's bad for you. It's actually psychologically damaging. And a lot of people listened, but not everybody, right? And of course, back in 1950, when this first came out, psychology and psychiatry were a little different than they are now.
Electrical treatment.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was legit bad, right? And it's changed. Dianetics hasn't. And so it's the same thing, from 1950, which is this sort of hypnotic regression therapy. And that's a good way to describe it.
That sounds so bad. I don't know how to respond to that. That sounds like a crime. It feels like a crime. How is it not a crime?
Should be a crime.
It should be. There's a effort being made right now to make freedom of mind a human right, just like freedom of movement and freedom of speech, because you shouldn't be invading people's minds this way and messing with them. And there's no informed consent. It's not like people know what's happening to them when this is being done. Right. They're being told, oh, you have a reactive mind, and you have these things called engrams, which are these moments of pain and unconsciousness, and we're going to settle them for you and resolve them for you, and you're going to erase it so it's not going to bother you anymore. And you tell a combat veteran this, and then you put them into these Dianetic sessions and charge them for it and run them back through their trauma and make it even worse for them, and then pat them on the head and say, you're all better now, bye-bye. And if they don't like that, or say, wait a minute, this didn't help me, or this wasn't any good, now you're the bad guy, right? Now the soldier, the guy trying to get help is now being, targeted by the church because he's saying, this didn't help me. That's the cycle. That's what happens over and over and over again.
For sure, we need that movement to work out.
But you could also see where, like, my dad has PTSD from multiple wars. I deal with a lot of family that does. And something is they like to go to the pub and they like to talk about it. It's their way of venting and getting it out. And so these guys are getting that same release in a controlled environment after taking it up to a 10 and then talking about it. It'll dump it down. They'll feel empty. That's going to become addictive. Going back, it's part of the reason these guys have a drinking problem, or some of these guys end up with drinking problems, isn't the drink itself. It's the experience of being at the pub with other guys that have been through it and, kind of emotionally dumping.
Okay.
That's right. There's a catharsis in talking, of course, and communicating and being understood. That's, there's a great deal of healing possible in that. That's what group therapy and support sessions and all of that are about, and why they can be helpful.
But they're bastardizing it. Sorry. I'm getting bad.
There's a certain degree of help possible there, right? It's not therapy, but it's, it brings some catharsis for people. What Dianetics is doing is so not that. It's so backwards to that it's truly destructive, right?
It reminds you of, I have a wound in my arm. Let me stick my finger in it. Now that I've pulled my finger out, given you an infection and made everything worse, doesn't it feel better in that 1 second that I pulled my finger out? Ta-da!
You got it. That's exactly it.
The only thing I can relate my understanding of cult-like to is martial arts when it comes to this kind of thing. But I know that when it comes to the people who make their gyms or dojos culty in nature, usually have a form of language or lingo or things that common people don't understand.
And a small penis.
As a small penis. And they use these things and their small penises as a way of enticing people into their gyms because it's language and things they don't quite get. And it could be complete nonsense. You could just be stringing big words together and it doesn't make any sense. But to people who don't know any better, they think, oh, that's intelligent. I should believe and follow this person. And that's kind of the vibe I'm getting, like maybe with these Dianetics or not whatever I'm so sorry. Dianetics. And things you're saying right now in reactive mind, these are things that if I didn't know any better, I'd think, well, that sounds like something a scientist would say. Okay, I can fall into that.
That's right. That's what you're actually, Bear, that is such a great observation, because what you're talking about is a whole thing we call loaded language. And you load, right? You load the language. Yeah. You set it up so that your own language within your group of all these specialized words and phrases and sayings and mantras and stuff, that's how you control the way people think.
Okay.
It's because it's all about, right? It's all about reinterpreting reality into this new way of looking at things. And martial arts is no different, right? No pain, no gain. You got to push through it. You got to keep going, right? Well, you can take that constructively, or you can abuse somebody with that.
Yeah.
And when the language starts having hidden meanings and codes and things like that outsiders don't understand, you're moving in that sort of culty direction. And when all of the language and concepts are reinforcing abusive behavior and calling it good, then you're truly in a destructive cult.
Well, shit.
It reminds me of like the Catholic Church. I keep going back to these examples. It reminds me of the Catholic Church. I almost became a nun. My dad talked me out of it. I became an underwear model. I'm sure he was thrilled. That's totally what he was going for. But we used to do like self-flagellation, horsehair shirts, like torture yourself to get to heaven. This kind of seems like the same thing. Suffer so you get this benefit.
It can be. It absolutely can be. And the again, informed consent has a lot to do with this, right? Because you have a whole subculture of BDSM, and you have people beating the crap out of each other. But they all know exactly what they're doing and why they're doing it, and they fully agree to be part of it, and they have, safe words and all of that. It's a very informed consent situation. These groups uniformly, and the Catholics have to take some responsibility for their abuses in the past as well, and in the present. That when you go into that and you're doing this with children, or with people who don't know it's coming and they never agreed to it in the first place, or you're tricking them and deceiving them and calling abuse a good thing, whether it's financial, sexual, physical, then you're over into the dark side.
That makes sense.
I think all religions do it. Like, so mum's Jewish, I see it in that faith. Dad's Catholic, I see it in that faith. I've got friends that are Mormon, I see it in that faith. I have yet to see any religion where there is not some form of abuse. Like Dalai Lama, my favorite person on the whole planet, just stuck his tongue in a kid's mouth.
Right.
Does it have
like
to have
I'm
abuse,
fucking gutted.
is the question.
But actually, that's a really good question. Does religion have to have some form of abuse for people to follow it?
It has to have some degree of sacrifice or some degree of work that you have to do that's going to mean something in order for the belief to mean something.
Right.
Right.
So you have to suffer for the greater good for anyone to believe they're doing something.
Okay.
That's right. No pain, no gain is a mantra that's been used for millennia. It's not just
made me starting my MLM harder. I'm far too lazy for that.
Sorry about that.
It's rude.
Yeah. And that's the way they get you, right? Is they tell you that abuse is necessary, that it's important, that it's vital and required in order for you to attain whatever it is you're trying to attain. And people will actually fall into believing that because it's true in so many contexts, in so many places. You do have to sacrifice and go through stuff. But these people are lying to you about it. And that's what makes it so awfully wrong, you know?
I wonder if we talked about that. I don't remember what we talked about last time, to be honest with you. I've been hit a lot in the head since then. Did we discuss the nature of like trauma bonding in this circumstance? Because that's what it sounds like to me. Like you're beating them and then they get benefits out of it. It sounds that's what it comes across to me.
It's trauma. That's it. Again, you're kind of hitting it on the head here. This is great. Yeah, trauma bonding is absolutely part of this. And what trauma bonding is, at least as I use the term, is alternates of punishment and reward, and punishment and reward. But the punishments become more frequent and the rewards become less frequent the longer you're in.
Okay.
So it's the world's worst BDSM relationship.
Yeah, it is a codependent relationship. Let's be clear. Cults are all about codependency. You know, they need the followers to be reliant on the cult leader. And to that degree, the cult leader is reliant on the cult followers. It's symbiotic, if you will, you know.
How do you start a cult? I know this is odd. How do you start a cult? It just seems like a lot of work. Like it's really tiring.
Yeah, it is. Some people fall into it. Sometimes there's cults of personality, like we talked about in Hollywood, that just go too far. You know, I don't know that Jared Leto is really just a cult of personality at this point. You know, he's got some weird things going on. People can take that power and influence. Yeah, that whole thing he does where he gets in the robe and looks like Jesus and stuff. It's like, what is he doing with these weekend retreats? That's really culty stuff, right? And that's where you have a fan base and you just take it and run with it and decide, oh, I can manipulate these people. I can get them to do things for me. And that's where you cross the line, right? There's nothing wrong with being famous. There's nothing wrong with being a celebrity or, you know, achieving things in your life. But when you turn around and use that to, victimize other people, that's not cool. But it's all too tempting. It's so tempting for some people.
Okay, that makes sense.
And they kind of fail that test. It's a test, and they fail it.
Oof. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still. I guess to me, I'm still a little bit of the whole. How do you shouldn't, if you can see these signs. If something doesn't seem right, you should always act on that and ask questions.
You're an atheist raised by an atheist.
But
religion doesn't make sense to you.
But I also think this makes me kind of like a candidate because I'm like, well, shit. If I think it's this easy to question people, maybe I'm just wrong. I haven't lived the life.
Well, but that's what put you. Remember last week, Chris? The week before last, Chris was saying people that think they can't be tricked are the best candidates. So that also makes you the best candidate.
All right. Yeah, I can see that too. That makes sense.
So cults out there looking, Bear's a good candidate.
Yes. And I come with the following, but you have to pay me.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, you are not doing ads for cults. I'm calling your manager.
One of one of the ways they get you, just sort of on a ground level, whether it's the Mormons or the JWs or the Scientologists or the Hare Krishnas or some martial arts dojo or whatever it is, the way they get you is this sort of this certainty. They're selling you certainty. They're selling you answers to questions you don't have the answers to or things you need help with. And you think this is the answer. This is the thing that's going to solve all the problems or all the issues or whatever it is I'm having a problem with, whether it's a business opportunity or whether it's a religious conversion. They can happen in the same way with these culty environments, and they want to pump you up. And if they can pump you up and get you really into what they're selling, oh, this is it. I finally found it. I got the answer. I found the cure. I found the thing, right? If they can get you in that state, that's it. They got you. And yeah, and it can be really hard to get out of that headspace.
I'll just hype people up into thinking that they're awesome and they'll stay.
You already hype everyone up.
That's why they've stayed.
And now all you got to do is start selling them stuff, especially stuff that doesn't.
He won't even sell his merch line.
I am so shit at selling people things. Like I should know. I'm so happy I never worked in like.
Never going to be a cult leader if you can't sell stuff.
No, I can't sell a damn thing.
He has a merch line, and then he's like, "No, I'll just send you a T-shirt, buddy. Don't worry about it."
Yeah, there it is.
I can't.
That's
I
right.
need my people to sell my stuff. You know what? I will convince my people to sell things from my merch store. This is how it works.
He does. He can't even keep the merch store together. People are like, hey, do you have an exercise video or something I can buy? He's like, I'll just throw one together for you so you can do it at home on your own. Don't worry about it. And you can see his like manager's eye bulging. I think she might kill him one day. Because he's like, he's got the
yeah. Well, that's the opposite of what we're talking about.
That's the opposite.
And unfortunately, speaking of untimely endings, we are at the end of our show. So you can please let people know where they can.
Oh my God!
Find
we did it again.
Where they can find your book, any information about you real fast so they know where to
tell them where to find your book, tell them where to find you. Can we have you on again? We did it again. Yes. I'm gonna get out of here.
Yes, you're totally
Thank you.
Much trouble.
Okay, no problem. My book, Scientology A to Z New, an insider's guide to what Scientology is really all about, on Amazon, ebook, audiobook. I did it. And of course, published printed book. And you can find me on YouTube under Chris Shelton MSC. And you can listen to my podcast called the Sensibly Speaking Podcast. There you go.
I actually follow him and listen to him. He's wonderful. You guys know I don't endorse people that come on all the time. Sometimes I love them. Sometimes I hate them. A lot of the time I yell at them. I actually follow him. I like him. I'm a fan. He talks a lot about logical thinking. And especially for those of you that want to get into media, it's a great thing to have.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so sorry. We did get a couple of questions in the beginning from last week. I'm sorry, guys. This was behind the scenes. We'll see you next week. Good night.
This has been Behind the Scenes with Summer Helene and Bear Fiorda. Only on Talk 4 Media.